Hey folks, welcome back to HeartGold vs. Crystal. We are here in Goldenrod City, and we are taking on the Goldenrod City Gym. Now, many people have strong opinions about this gym because the gym leader is usually pretty difficult. And I will concede that point. Anyway, this gym is based around the normal type, which is why it's all pink. And as you probably know, the normal type is a bit of a weird type. It doesn't have any type advantages, so it's not super effective against anything. But it only has one weakness, and that's to fighting, and one immunity, which is Ghost. So that makes it a decent defensive type. There's your options for having a legitimate advantage against the entire team are fairly limited. You have the odd fighting move that random Pokemon will get, or you could trade for a Machop. I think there's an NPC who will trade a Machop. And that's basically your only option for inflicting super effective damage. So most people just kind of dish out everything that they have, or use some sort of very bulky Pokemon that can tank them, like Geodude or Graveler. Anyway, you may note that the gym is in the shape of a Clefairy. Look closely, you'll see it. And this is Whitney. She and her apricots are already familiar to the player, and a lot of people don't really like her because she's a jerk and her Pokemon are jerks, and then she's a whiny boohoo head afterwards. But let's reserve judgment for the time being. She leads off with the Clefairy, and this Clefairy doesn't really have anything worth noting other than Metronome. I can't really recall it doing anything special other than abusing Metronome. So this could be incredibly luck-based, this first section, because if she keeps using Metronome, she might get, like, Guillotine and Horn Drill and other destructive things like that. Or she might get Splash. So, yeah. And she also has Mimic. She'll mimic something that you do. Probably won't be too much of an issue, because you can easily switch out, or just avoid using moves that would be super effective against yourself. But overall, Clefairy isn't very strong, or buff, or anything. So, it's basically just kind of a barrier in your way between you and the real challenge of the gym. I mean, like, I'm just wailing on it. I'm not using any advanced tactics here. Oh, you and your super potion. Well, I'd rather you use it on a Clefairy than on something else. But yeah, it may be. You may be tempted just to grab a Machop just to make this fight go quicker. But it's something that you could do. Or you could use Clefairy as a Pokemon to set up on. Like, you can use buffs, get your attack defense up, and then have a Pokemon in good condition for the next Pokemon that she sends out. Now you can see here the entire gimmick, supposedly, of her, like, of the fight in general, is Attract and Infatuation. It's like Confusion, but it only occurs between Pokemon of opposite genders, and you won't be able to hurt yourself. You just are rendered immobile if you're unlucky. Overall, it's annoying, but if you use female Pokemon here, you should be in good shape in that regard. And I have plenty of those. Anyway, here is the real meat of her team. You see what I did there, because it's a cow. Miltank. Many people do not care for this Miltank, because it did horrible, angry, terrible things to them in Crystal, and ruined their childhood, apparently. And I can see it. Miltank is pretty defensively buff, especially for this point in the game. It doesn't evolve, so it gets less useful, less awesome in, like, the metagame or in the late game. But it is, nonetheless, pretty buff, good defensive stats. And although it's not, like, offensively really strong, it's still, like, good for this point in the game. Again, I don't think they could pull off a super threatening Miltank later on in the game. Anyway, because of that high defensive business, I wanted to put on Leech Seed to get a constant health sap from him. And now I'm going for Sand Attack, which will hopefully just keep him from doing damage. Like, if I render him, like, constantly draining hit points and unable to attack me, I'm in a good situation. And that's often a pretty good thing to do when you're facing a Pokemon that takes a lot of hits, is to just make it so they can't do anything to you and slowly whittle them down. Now, let's see if I remember Miltank's moveset here. I know Miltank has Stomp, as you can see there. Has, I believe, Milk Drink, which is a lot like using a Super Potion. It'll heal, like, I don't know, half your hit points or something. I'm trying to remember if he has... what else he has. I know one other move that he has, but he just hasn't used, and it's weird. I don't want to talk too much about it, because it is actually a thing that comes into play in Crystal much more than in HeartGold. But it's the primary reason that I was actually inflicting Sand Attack. There's a move that gets stronger every turn. They use it consecutively, a lot like Fury Cutter in the Bugsy fight. So by using Sand Attack, you lower the accuracy, and if it misses, that'll break his combo, and it'll do less damage, or just it will stop gaining damage rather. But for whatever reason, Miltank is only using Stomp, and we were trying to think of what possible reason the AI might have for that, especially in light of bringing in Webster, because, okay, the move I'm talking about is Rollout, right? So Rollout is a Rock-type move. It'd be super effective against Webster. People are thinking Stomp is more immediately powerful, thanks to Stab, so its immediate base power is stronger, but Rollout would get stronger the more it was used, so I don't... It would just always use Stomp, basically. Rollout becomes not a thing at all. And it's weird, because Rollout was the primary terror in Crystal, as you will see. But here, it's really just a matter of, let's just hang on and let it kind of wear itself out. Another thing you can do is put it to sleep, so, like, it will not inflict damage that way, and that's also a good way to break a Rollout combo. But overall, I redid this fight several times, hoping to get a good, satisfactory ending, and this was the best that I could get. Pre-using Shaman's signature move, which is pretty cool. Overall, the fight was kind of lackluster. It wasn't as difficult as I expected it to be, and again, I didn't get to show off Rollout at all. But anyway, check out the Crystal version after this commercial break. Alright, time for the Crystal version, and this is the fight that a lot of people remember from their childhood. This, or Gold, or Silver, you know, fairly similar throughout. Once again, leads with the Clefairy. Clefairy, I think they actually decreased the level of each of her Pokemon by 1 for the remakes, but such a small difference, doesn't really matter, and Clefairy pretty much operates by the same agenda, I think, using Metronome, possibly infatuating. It's kind of, like, not much of note. I was hoping to get, I think, a Poison in on this guy, or this girl, but it wasn't really happening, unfortunately. It kind of stinks. Webster's, like, best attacking move in HeartGold was Nightshade, which doesn't work on normal Pokemon. And Webster hasn't learned Nightshade in Crystal yet. He will eventually, but not yet. So Webster didn't have much to do here, unfortunately, but I swear to God, he'll have his time to shine. Just be patient. Anyway, back to class, let's do this thing. Agility is a pretty good move. Raises speed, 2 stages. But, again, not much really to say about Clefairy tactically, because it doesn't have much of a tactic, and my tactic for taking it down is just wailing on it. I guess just try to avoid using contact moves if you have a male Pokemon in HeartGold, because it has cute charm. Or just use females in general would be the closest thing to a tactic I could recommend, other than just getting that Machop. Now then, here we go, Miltank. This is the big whammy, basically. I'm starting off with a fairly similar strategy. Like I said in HeartGold, put on the Leech Seed to have it constantly draining. What are you doing using Stomp, you jerk? Stomp can flinch, that's a terrible thing. If you want, you can lower its speed, and that will make it so that it'll go second, and then Stomp will not flinch you. But here we go, this is Rollout. Now, you can either have an extremely bulky Pokemon that can live Rollouts really well, maybe something that resists Rock, like Geodude or Graveler. I think those resist Rock, right? Or you can try to lower its accuracy so that Rollout will miss, and that will break its combo. Or you can have a fast Pokemon with Hypnosis, so it'll be put to sleep, and that will break its combo. Or you can have a bunch of Death Fodder. Rollout maxes out at 5 turns, so it'll get stronger for 5 turns, and then it will reset back to the beginning. And keep in mind that Rollout locks the user into using it over and over, so it's not like he's going to start using something else. So use Death Fodder until those 5 turns are up, and then switch in something that can disrupt a Rollout chain through whatever reason, through whatever method. My method here is Sandra using Mud Slap, a lot like using Sand Attack in HeartGold, except Mud Slap does damage. But yeah, by inflicting these Mud Slaps, basically Rollout is much more likely to miss, so hopefully it will not build up horrible, devastating chains, which it still could do if I'm unlucky, but that's the basic tactic here. And of course he is using Stomp again. I'm not sure if that's because Rollout wouldn't do well against Sandra, or what. Anyway, here's the Milk Drink. He does have Milk Drink in HeartGold, I do know that, but overall it's just a time-wasting mechanism. And that can be annoying if you haven't properly dealt with Rollout, because, you know, he's back up to full health, all that chipping away that you've done, surviving narrowly from all those Rollout sweeps, will have been undone. Which, that's frustrating, but since Mud Slap has essentially negated Rollout's ability to do anything now, it should be a perfectly decent situation for Sandra now. I don't know why those Stomps are still hitting so well. Okay, good. That one missed. And I've essentially rendered Miltank incapable of doing anything except prolonging the inevitable now. And I think that's actually the best tactic against this thing. Because if you don't want to sell out and get that Machop, which I think you like catch a Drowsy and trade for it in the department store or something, if you really want to do that. If you don't want to sell out and do that, I would recommend finding whatever possible method to disrupt his chain. Anyway, I wanted to have a bit of a stylish and little fitting ending, so let's use Defense Curl, and let's use a Rollout of our own. Like I said, Defense Curl will automatically boost Rollout up 1 stage, so I think it can actually get overall stronger than a 5 chain of Rollouts. And essentially, I felt this would be the most fitting ending for such a man as this Miltank, even though it's female. And I hope this is at least a little bit refreshing for you folks who want to see it almost die by its own hand, I guess. And of course, I was extremely tense hoping that Rollout wouldn't miss, but there we go. Miltank goes down. And that takes care of the Crystal fight. Didn't cause me too many problems, but it was certainly more difficult than the HeartGold fight. I think that's the general consensus, is that they did make it easier for HeartGold, whether intentionally or otherwise. Anyway, once you beat her, she'll throw a temper tantrum, and then you need to walk away a few steps, and then you need to talk to her again. A little bit of characterization, I guess? I don't know, it doesn't really add much, but it's a thing. Anyway, now you can use Strength, which you can't get for like 2 more towns. And she will give you the TM for Attract in both versions. Attract, like I said, acts like Confusion, but it only works against Pokemon of the opposite gender, and they won't hurt themselves. So you're basically better off using a Confusion move whenever possible. I think the chance for it coming into play is about the same. And that takes care of the Goldenrod City Gym. Not too bad, I guess. Now, once we defeated the gym, we can go over and talk to this lady. She will recognize you as capable, and you are entrusted with the great responsibility of having a squirt bottle. Yeah, you'll need this later. But anyway, that takes care of the Goldenrod City for the time being. We'll be back. But I will see you guys next time for heading up north. Adios.